Okay, with all of that said, as I say, Trump got in a fight with governors yesterday, and then he got in a fight with the press yesterday. Now, let me start with this premise. The press have been awful on this. They've been awful from day one. They've been focused laser-like on the suggestion that President Trump blew this. They've been suggesting that since the first day. And they've been focusing incessantly on failures during late January and February. And as I've said before, when the book is written about how all of this went down, there will be failures in late January and February, particularly from the CDC and the FDA and testing authorities. There are going to be failures inside the Trump administration. Trump should have taken it seriously, maybe 2-3 weeks earlier minimum. Okay, all of that is going to be written. But the other thing that's going to be written is that there was a series of failures for 20 years leading up to this thing. There were failures at the state and local level, because that's what always happens in the lead up to a government disaster. Yes, there was a memo in the lead up to 9/11 that said Al-Qaeda determined to attack in the United States. It was vague. It was not clear what exactly the United States should do about that. It said they were going to use airplanes, but it didn't say what they were going to do with the airplanes. Yes, that was a screw up by the Bush administration. You know what else was a screw up? Letting bin Laden live for 15 years before that under the Clinton administration. So everybody's been focused in on Trump. And one of the things that really is most despicable that I think some members of the media are trying to do is divide off Dr. Anthony Fauci from Trump. Now, listen, I don't think that Trump should simply be listening to everything Fauci says and then greenlighting it. I think that he's the president of the United States. He ought to have a variety of voices in his ear. To come up with a good policy does mean balancing not just the epidemiological approach, but also the economic approach and also the public health approach beyond epidemiology. I mean, the fact is that nobody has taken into account the mental effects on the American people of 30 million people losing their jobs and people being forced to stay in their homes. Nobody has taken into account the public health effects of people staying home for elective surgeries. What we're watching right now is hospitals actually going out of business in the middle of a coronavirus pandemic because the only thing they're being allowed to care for is coronavirus. They're not allowed to go out and do all of the surgeries that actually pay the doctors and pay the nurses and keep the hospitals open. So we're going to have them go back to doing those sorts of things, obviously. Okay, well, President Trump is in the middle of this thing, is being questioned about Fauci because the media are trying to divide him off from Fauci. I don't know what the purpose is. Maybe so they can claim that Trump is not listening to the experts or something. And it really is gross. So Trump the other day made a big boo-boo, right? He retweeted a bizarre tweet suggesting that he fire Fauci. Now, the rest of the tweet was about how Fauci had been saying in late February everything was going to be okay, which happens to be true. And Trump probably retweeted it without reading the end of the tweet, right? The actual answer here is that Trump doesn't read entire tweets. He has retweeted criticism of him before without knowing it because he reads the first 7 words of a tweet and then just hits retweet. But Trump was asked about why he retweeted this thing about fire Fauci, the media drooling, hoping to open a rift between the two of them.
Today I walk in, I hear I'm going to fire him. I'm not firing him. I think he's a wonderful guy.
Tweet something that said fire Fauci.
Why did you fire Fauci?
I retweeted somebody. I don't know. They said fire. Doesn't matter.
Did you notice that when you retweeted it?
Yeah, I notice everything.
So you retweeted it even though it said time to fire Fauci?
No, that's somebody's opinion. All that is an opinion.
And you elevated it.
I was called about that. I said, I'm not firing. In fact, if you ask your friends in the office, in the public relations office, I was immediately called upon that. And I said, no, I like him. I think he's terrific.
Okay, so Fauci was asked about this, and Fauci's just so irritated by this point. Like, Trump actually enjoys the back and forth with the media. Right? Trump lives for this. Trump loves being the center of attention. The dirty little secret, the media love the media. Trump loves Trump, and so they love it. Trump loves it when people talk about him, and the media love it when somebody talks about them. So the only people enjoying this whole Trump versus the media thing are Trump and the media. Those are the people enjoying this. Everybody else out here who's like, so am I going to die or not? And we're all like, what are you talking? Like, I don't care about this. Fauci is one of those people, right? Fauci was asked about this, and he's like, I'm not being fired. Stop with this garbage. This is so stupid. You can see how irritated Fauci is here.
Somebody didn't like the way I answered it, so they hashtagged it fire Fauci. That's it. That's the world we live in. I accept it. It doesn't bother me.
But can the president fire you?
Well, it depends on what you mean by fire me. I'm on the task force as serving at his pleasure. He could remove me for the task force. I was with him for quite a while today. He has no intention of doing that.
Okay, and then Fauci was asked about whether Trump acted quickly, because remember, he was on Jake Tapper, and Tapper had said, would we have saved more lives if we did something in February? And Fauci was like, well, I mean, sure, but if we had acted last August, we would have saved more lives, right? Here was Fauci clarifying himself.
The first and only time that Dr. Birx and I went in and formally made a recommendation to the president to actually have a, quote, shutdown in the sense of not really shutdown, but to really have strong mitigation. We discussed it. Obviously, there would be concern by some that in fact that might have some negative consequences. Nonetheless, the president listened to the recommendation and went to the mitigation.
Okay, and then Fauci was asked if he was being put up there as a puppet by Paula Reed from CBS News. And CBS was touting this as like, what great questioning. And Fauci's like, are you serious right now? Like, you think that I'm just Trump's meat puppet? Is that your actual suggestion? This guy's been working in government for decades. It's just absurd. Here's Fauci again the media trying to manipulate it so that Fauci will say something bad about Trump, so Trump will get mad and fire him.
In this interview, you said there was pushback.
Yeah.
Where did that pushback come from?
No, it wasn't. And that was the wrong choice of words. You know what it was? When people discuss, not necessarily in front of the president, when people discuss, they say, well, you know, this is going to have maybe a harmful effect on this or on that. So it was a poor choice of words. There wasn't anybody saying, no, you shouldn't do that.
Are you doing this voluntarily, or did the president?
No, I'm doing it. Everything I do is voluntarily. Please, don't even imply that.
Okay, and good for Fauci. So the media was doing this routine yesterday, and so President Trump at the presser decided to go directly back after the media. Now, full credit to Chris Cuomo. So Chris Cuomo did a radio show yesterday in which he was asked specifically about his job at CNN. And he basically said, since I've had coronavirus, I'm realizing my job is really stupid. Yeah, honestly, like slow clap for Chris Cuomo. Correct. If your entire job consists of just sitting there and bitching about Trump all day, then yes, that's a stupid job. Here's Chris Cuomo basically admitting as much.
I don't want to spend my time doing things that I don't think are valuable enough to me personally. Like what? Well, I don't like what I do professionally, I've decided. I like doing this show. I like talking to you guys. But I don't value indulging irrationality, hyperpartisanship. I don't think it's worth my time.
Okay, so again, he is correct about this, but the media love it, right? So it took a life and death experience for Cuomo to recognize that the media are really all about this stuff, and they really are, right? Trump loves it because Trump loves him some Trump, and the media love it because the media love them some media. So yesterday, President Trump went after the media. He said, listen, here's the timeline of me doing things. Right? Here was Trump ripping into the media.
How do you close down the greatest economy in the history of the world when on January 17th you have no cases and no death? When on January 21st you have one case and no death. One case. Think of that. Now, we're supposed to close down the country, but here's what happened. When on January 31st I instituted the ban, Joe Biden went crazy. He said, you don't need the ban. He didn't go crazy. Like, he didn't even know what the hell the ban was.
Okay, and he is not wrong about this. And then Trump went on. He actually showed a long video of members of the media talking about him and ripping him for the China flight ban. He showed it's like a 3-minute video talking about how he was right and everybody else was wrong. And so the media lose it yesterday. Like, they completely lose it. So just to show you the media bias. So here's the difference between CNN's chyrons and the other chyrons. Okay, so CNN's chyrons yesterday were just absurd, right? New York Times, experts' aide tried to warn Trump of coronavirus threat. Okay, Fox News says Trump defends reaction to virus outbreak. Fox News' chyron is more accurate. Okay, that is a more accurate chyron. Okay, and then there were more chyrons, right? The CNN basically says Trump uses task force briefing to try and rewrite history on coronavirus response. That's an editorial. And then Fox News says Trump want to correct fake news. That's an accurate headline. So the media were treating this as like CNN did a great job with its chyrons. CNN did a crap job with its chyrons. You know why Trump is dumping all over the media? Because you are Trump. Trump is you. You guys are just the Marx Brothers without the mirror there, right? And you're just doing the hand motion silently. And it's Groucho on one end and Harpo on the other. And eventually you just step through the mirror and you're still mirroring each other, right? That's what you guys are, right? CNN had a chyron said, angry Trump turns briefing into propaganda session. Fox News said Trump wants to keep media honest. Okay, so again, CNN was just like all in on this thing. And it was ridiculous. Okay, so CNN John King, then he gets up and said, that was propaganda. It was just pure propaganda. What do you think press briefings are? Have you ever been to a press briefing? They are giving the administration side of the story. And is it not similarly propaganda when the members of the media sit there and ask questions they would only ask to Republicans in the same way 97 times? Here's John King going after Trump for being mean to the media. Oh, poor media. Oh, I feel so bad for you. Oh. Again, Ask as many tough questions as you want of Trump. Do I think Trump is handling this in the smartest possible way? No. I think he should be saying right now, listen, you guys are focused on all the wrong things. You know what the American people care about? How we stop people from dying. You know what they don't care about? Your petty little attempts to get on television. Right? I think Trump would be well within his rights to say that. But to pretend that the media and Trump are not two sides of the same coin is absurdity. Here is John King. Hey, it was propaganda. The righteous indignation and pearl clutching is just ridiculous.
That was propaganda. That was not just a campaign video. That was propaganda aired at taxpayer expense in the White House briefing room. And it was selective cherry-picking information. Again, the president has every right to be proud of imposing the travel restrictions on China. He has every right to defend himself. He has every right to push back. He has every right to challenge things that are factually not true. But to play a propaganda video at taxpayer expense in the White House briefing room is a new, you can insert your favorite word here, in this administration. There are ways to do things.
You mean he strung together clips that back his case and you don't like it? Wow, that sounds kind of like CNN, except like they do it to attack Trump. And then you have Jim Acosta saying, this is the biggest meltdown I've ever seen. Really? Like, because I've seen Jim Acosta on TV a lot. Here's Jim Acosta. And ladies, find you a man who loves you like Jim Acosta loves Jim Acosta. Here's Jim Acosta saying, it's the biggest meltdown I've ever seen. And I've seen tons of meltdowns because I'm Jim Acosta. And let me tell you, every morning in the mirror, when I look in the mirror and I see Jim Acosta, let me tell you, there's a handsome man, that Jim Acosta. Here's Jim Acosta talking about Jim Acosta having viewed meltdowns as Jim Acosta while watching a press conference being Jim Acosta.
That is the biggest meltdown I have ever seen from a president of the United States in my career. I don't think a reasonable person could watch what we just saw over the last hour and conclude that the president is in control. He sounds like he is out of control. And he was ranting and raving for the better part of the last hour during that news conference. As John King was just saying, he's claiming that he has authorities that he doesn't have. The Constitution does not give the president of the United States total authority. And I thought it was very illuminating that Vice President Mike Pence got up there at the podium and described the president's authority as plenary or absolute. That is not the case. That is a fact check false.
Okay, again, the fact that you've got the media who are so angry at this, here's the truth. The media love it. They love every single solitary second of this.